The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
How come I'm yellow? Yeah, what have I got?
You're green today. I don't know why.
Green. What's going on here?
I don't know why. I think it's reflecting off your jacket or something.
No, I don't think so. Green from my. It's a gray sweatshirt. So
I'm not sure where it's coming
forgot
from.
my swim.
It was greener.
I was
a little.
in a hurry today. I forgot to grab my Spindle City official uniform shirt. So
Yeah, I don't know
well,
why.
I guess I'm going to be. I guess I'm going to have a Martian tint today.
You're from Mars today.
I'm going to look like I'm from Mars. That's right. And, you know, men are from Mars and women are from Saturn or whatever. I don't know, Jupiter or some crap. Well, whatever. So it's another day. It's a Monday in the Riv. And, again, we have news, and more news. And what are you going to say? Former Fall River firefighter allegedly made false 911 calls to steal money. So that's the second phase of what we read about, well, quite a while ago now. It's been a few months, right? So
right.
It's been months since the you know, the false alarms were
now,
revealed.
What's interesting about this article, which I think is amazing, we were told that he was stealing money prior to all of this coming out. But because we couldn't get a secondary confirmation, we obviously couldn't confirm it. We couldn't give that out there. But what's really interesting is that now other firefighters are coming forward with this. You have one that lost $500 at one firehouse. And money's missing out of a lot of the, what do they call it?
Canteen?
The canteen money. And he also may have stolen money from the muscular dystrophy. You know, the Fill the Boot campaign?
Well, you know, it's bad enough you steal from your fellow, you know, your fellow workers, and you know, I don't call themselves brothers, but obviously it's, you know, that's kind of a euphemism. But the reality is, you know, you're stealing money, and you know, and you're jeopardizing the firefighters on the way. And it seems, it disturbs me reading this, that it's always the public is secondary, but the, you know, delays their response in that district. So there's a whole bunch of things wrong, but there are a lot of things wrong with this whole thing when you read the article. And obviously and let me say, we did not say anything about that, even though we knew this right out of the get-go, because I still do have contacts there, and we knew that there were allegations, and again, at the time they were allegations, and they're still allegations because they have to prove it in court. However, we didn't go there because they were in fact allegations, and it was a pending trial. You know, it wasn't, we feel, in our you know, to muddy the water, because we couldn't get definitive confirmation on that from anybody. Oh, now I'm blue. I like blue better. Good. Keep me with the blue. Oh, there you go. That's a better picture. Completely dark. Almost. You're close. You're close. They look a little washed out, but otherwise it's like. But you.
I think I fixed it now.
And again, as we said, everybody always, you know, whacks us about, you know, oh, you did this and you said this and you said that, and oh, stop picking on people. And you know, this was something we felt we shouldn't allege, because, you know, I mean, stealing is bad enough. To me, being a thief is probably one of the lowest forms of life, because you're taking somebody else's money or possessions and things that they worked hard for, with a total disregard for those people. And you know, there are people who commit, you know, I mean, somebody shoots somebody because they're you know, they have a vendetta, that's bad enough. But they have a, well, in their mind, a legitimate reason, but there's, you know, there's no reason to steal, especially from the people who you fundamentally live with. Because remember, firefighters eat, sleep together. They don't just work together. They don't go in for an 8-hour shift and then leave and they can go on their merry way. They actually have to live with each other, you know, whether they like you or dislike you. You know, stealing is totally wrong in the first place, but when you steal from people who you are fundamentally your extended family, it's tragic, whatever the reason was. And there are other allegations about the reasons, too. So what are you going to do, right?
Well, I don't, you know, I'm not going to get into what some of those other allegations are, although the Herald News did. But it shows that...
Well, if the Herald News did, I guess we can, you know, it's public, so we can at least make a statement if you want to make a statement on it.
Yeah, well, you know, they said that they believe that it was, again, allegation, that it was because he had a prescription pill problem. And according to the story, which was written by Peter Jaskinski, he's the new reporter there. He says that the department knew he had a pill problem prior to them hiring him. Now I have a problem there. If that is truly accurate. I mean, that's not on this chief's back because he was hired before this chief, but that creates a problem. How can you engender confidence in your fire department when there's allegations of this type of hiring going on? He was hired because he was a legacy. Grandpa was a firefighter, Dad was a firefighter, and he was a firefighter. That's why he was hired. He was a legacy.
And you know what bothers me about this report is I'm reading the article and it says they talked about a different district chief told investigators he had a gut, quote unquote, gut feeling about his involvement. And he stated that he knew that and he quoted, this is a quote, he stated that he knew Cusick had been abusing pills prior to getting on a job, unquote. Well, that's a serious allegation. And the thing was that they didn't confirm. I've disappeared from the screen, CJ. If in fact he knew that, if he knew this prior to him getting on the job.
I fixed the color.
Yeah. If he knew this prior to getting in the job, he had an obligation to make that known to the department. And if the department ignored it, there's a major issue. And him not telling that if he knew it, but he alleged. This is an allegation. Right. If he had proof, he should have gone to the department. If he wants to make allegations, I heard that many times. There were situations when I was on the job where we heard people had substance abuse problems, and in some cases they were erroneous. In other cases they were correct. This is why that before you come on the job, I've always been, that they should drug test them, especially public safety jobs. And I know that there is drug testing in the language of the police, and they always, I was always an advocate of it, but they had to give us something in the contract. Obviously, it's a concession, but it had to be for cause. But before they get on the job, let's make something perfectly clear. The collective bargaining agreement does not protect them. They are not part of the bargaining unit before they come on the job. They have no rights. As a matter of fact, as a probationary firefighter, they can be terminated without the process guaranteed under civil service. Because until they complete their probationary period, they don't have any, you know, they do not have certain rights. The rest of the collective bargaining agreement, pay, benefits, etc. Yes, but as far as they can be terminated virtually for anything the department deems within their first year of probationary period. And secondly, before they come on the job, they have absolutely no rights under the collective bargaining agreement because they're not in the collective bargaining unit. So there's nothing that prohibits the city from drug testing people before they get on, especially public safety jobs, and virtually any job. And with the drug problems we have today, I don't know why we don't do it on a routine basis. It should be part of the processing to get any position for the city, especially any position that requires, of course, public safety or driving any kind of vehicle with a city plate. So, I mean, it should be, it's my opinion, but the reality is there should be drug testing in order to secure any position.
Well, one of the things, too, that we need to look at is the fact that now that marijuana is legal, okay, and you can buy it on almost any street corner legally, we have that issue. Now, the courts have ruled that an employer can say, we're not going to hire you because you're using marijuana, even though it's legal. So, I mean, that can remove a lot of people from the job market. If the employer's going to say, we're not hiring you because you're smoking marijuana, and they can legally say that. So.
And there's another issue that you can answer, because I don't really know the answer to this. I mean, you probably have to go to court. But when it comes to firefighters and police, they have a prohibition about smoking anything.
Exactly.
Tobacco products. So technically, if they smoke marijuana, does that, you know, basically make them ineligible for, because marijuana technically is not it's a plant. It's not tobacco. Well, tobacco's a plant too.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. There's another question that has to go, you know.
But remember, marijuana can be eaten. They've created.
Well, you can eat tobacco too. It's going to make you sick.
No.
I mean, I know people who have swallowed chewing tobacco and got, you know,
Definitely
violently ill. So.
No, but marijuana, it does have edibles. If you go into these marijuana stores, they're selling marijuana gummies, you know, little gummy bears with marijuana in them. Marijuana brownies. I mean, all these things are there, and people do eat that stuff. So you don't necessarily have to smoke it.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of issues. We're seeing a lot of, you know, motor vehicle accidents. And the other problem we have is, to my knowledge, up until this point, and I know very recently, many of the police departments are complaining because there's no real test
Exactly.
that they can administer. It's not like alcohol where they can give you a breathalyzer or a field sobriety test. There's nothing that they can technically check unless they, and I don't know if they, you know, obviously they probably need probable cause to drag you in and take a blood sample to see if you've had, you know, or a urine specimen. But there are a lot of issues. But as far as this is concerned, there's a lot of allegations. But this opens up a big thing about if this allegation, if this is a well-known fact, did they, in fact, try to follow up on the investigation if it was? But it's a bad thing. You know, too bad. But it's something that doesn't really play well, you know, in any arena, let alone a public safety job and one where you fundamentally live together. So, but hey, it is what it is. We'll keep track of this and
keep you informed.
And we'll keep you informed. And you know, let's see if these allegations opens up. Speaking about opening up another can of worms, I read your weekend flush, as I always do. You talked about our illustrious, go to Russia if you don't like it here, superintendent of schools. Yeah. And he was talking about do the right thing, begging for more money from Boston for Fall River. Well, you know, and he talked about we only spend $10,000 per student, and Weston spends $24,000 a student. But of course, he's not looking at how much we actually spend on administrators, because we have a hell of a lot of administrators making a lot of money that aren't teaching students. Because when you look at that, again, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. So he's looking at this figure in its totality without knowing where the money is applied. But then again, even if that was exactly earmarked where every single penny was for a student, it's apples and oranges. I looked up when we got to the show, and I looked at this. I looked up Weston, and I'm going to read you what I just Googled it. You can feel free to Google it. The median household income in the town of Weston was $153,918. The median income for the figure had risen 189,000, and the per capita income is 105,640. What's the per capita income in Fall River? $22,000 a year. You really want it, and what is the size of the Weston School Department? They are, I think, the second wealthiest city in the Commonwealth, only behind Newton. Just look that up quickly. Apples and oranges, and plus this thing is not, he makes a lot of points that really aren't accurate. He talks about that rising cost of health care. Fall River has actually, it only went up 1.5%. It could have went up 0, but you have to factor something in for inflation in order to make sure we don't have a drastic increase in premium. But as someone who worked on, who was on the PEC and who goes to every insurance advisory committee meeting, that committee works very, very hard at keeping the costs of health care down. Health care is expensive in every community, and proportionately, our health care is far less than most communities. Actually, when we went over to this plan modeling, the city is averaging over $3 million a year that they got just from the shift of co-pays to the employees. So when the superintendent of schools complains about it, again, he doesn't understand the problem, again, because the school department's looking at what's in their budget. And they look at it as an isolated thing rather than the group. If you look at our health care plan, we have one of the best. And it's not because the city did it, it's because it was a joint venture. The city, the people on the IAC, and kudos to them, and the people on the PEC, they work hard at trying to make it as affordable as possible for the employees and as affordable as possible for everybody concerned, which is more affordable for the city. We don't like paying more co-pays, but health care is a problem everywhere. So in a general sense, he can complain about health care. But when he talks about his rising costs, that is absolute BS. Because in fact, the Fall River health costs have probably risen less than any community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's the one thing in the city that's actually being done fairly well. So I take a little, when I see these kind of articles, there's nothing that disturbs me more than trying to manipulate statistics. When I bargained, I saw the city whine they didn't have any money, and we proved they did. And you hear people complaining all the time for their own self-interest. Look, we should spend as much as possible on our education. There's nobody that's a greater advocate for education than I am. But I'm an advocate for spending it on the students, not paying deans of students and chief operating officers and all these other euphemistic titles that got six-figured salaries attached to them. When we had a much greater school population and a much better educational attainment level, we had none of these positions. So before we begin to beg for more money, let's utilize our money a little bit more prudently, especially coming from a superintendent who wanted to put more overseers on the payroll in this new budget, not people giving direct classroom support. So That's
That doesn't improve learning time, by the way.
yeah, it doesn't improve. Absolutely, you know, that's like on our last show when we talked about the people who got TIFs, and I know we were jumped all over about, you know, stop picking on them. You know, they look how much good they're doing. What good are they doing? They're lining their pockets. And listen to me. I know both of those people, and I don't have anything against them making millions of dollars. If that's what they want to do, if they want to grease the pockets of the politicians, if they want to kiss up to the politicians and get deals, fine. If you want to go and curry favor with hospitals and get on their boards and get them to move into your properties and rent them, make your millions of dollars. My problem is, you made your millions. You're investing $6 million. You got $6 million to invest. Don't take more money out of my tax rate. Make all the money you can, but make it with your own money. You made all this money over these years, and you still want a break. You want tax breaks on the front end. You want tax breaks on the back end. You want a lower tax rate on your business. You want a TIF on your business. You fundamentally want to operate your businesses and your investments at zero expenditure, except on that. And then when you're going to collect the money on all these places, if you rent them, I'm paying the taxes on that property for as long as the TIF is concerned. I don't have any problem. Make $1 billion, but make it with your own money. And when I see big businesses or individuals whining about getting mower breaks because they're going to help us, how are they going to help you? Are you going to build a wing on the Cancer Society or something like that? I mean, I know that Bill Gates does a lot of philanthropic work. I don't see a lot of philanthropic work from around here being done. So, look, you want to make your money? I got nothing against it. So, picking on them, what have they done? Building market rate housing is going to do something for the city? We've already got a boatload of market rate housing that's being built and is built. How much has that helped the city? Nada. Zip. Zero. So forgive me. I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying, listen, as a taxpayer, I don't want to subsidize your 2 new properties. I shouldn't have to. You got millions of dollars. You're investing millions of dollars. It's part of business. If I decide to open a business, I got to go to a bank and beg the bank for a loan and hope I get it. And then if I don't make enough money, I'm out on the street. I lost my money. I lost my business. I lost everything. But we know about this society. The richer you get, the more influential you get. And the less money of your own that you have to use. You can go out there, and the same people that wrote those articles were complaining. I'll bet you that when the banks got bailed out and the mortgage owners got screwed, you were livid that the rich banks got bailed out and the poor people who lost their houses were victimized. You were furious. When the auto industry got bailed out and all the auto workers lost their jobs and they shipped them all to Mexico, now they're complaining because those same companies that got bailed out, shipped the jobs to Mexico, are complaining because they want to put tariffs when they're bringing those vehicles back into the United States. You were furious again. But when it happened to one of your friends, that's okay. We're bad guys. We're picking on it. Well, guess what? I was always the bad guy because I was a union guy. I was the guy that had to sit at the table and watch the people out in the hall say, why are you defending that guy? I'll tell you why. Because that's the guy that didn't want to kiss the boss's butt. That's the guy who didn't want to play golf with the boss. That's the guy who didn't fit in with the in crowd. But he had just as much rights, and he should have been fought for just as hard. That's what people do. There's no double rule. There's no rule for your friends and your family versus the rest of the public. If you're outraged that the banks got bailed out and people got screwed on their mortgages, that the auto industry not only got bailed out, they got to ship their jobs out of the country, and now they're complaining they want another. They don't want to get another tariff. Shame on you, because that's not being fair. That's not ethical, and it shows that you have a sliding scale on ethics, and I just don't agree with that. So I had to get that one in, because I was furious. I'm furious about stuff like that, because I'm the guy, my entire career, for 24 years a union president, I was the guy that had to take the guy that nobody liked. But if that guy was right, and that guy his job deserved to be protected, I had to put up with people in my own bargaining unit with just like this. Oh, I don't like him. Let him fire him. Well, let him fire him. Just like Cusick. He deserves a right to due process. And if he gets convicted, he gets convicted. But the fact is, because you don't like somebody, because you don't like the way they cut their hair, or you don't like what baseball team he likes, he's still supposed to have the same damn rights as you have. That's why it takes people who can put personal feelings above what the issue is.
Well, you know, you brought up Cusick again, and this is where we get two rules, because, and I'm saying this for the Zombies' benefit. Cusick was arrested for filing false 911 calls. He was fired by the fire department. Hadn't been convicted yet, but was terminated by the fire department for doing that. You had a fire chief which was arrested under DUI. They didn't fire him. No, we got to rally behind him and support him. And when you look at this, they basically convicted Cusick before he went to court, and they terminated him from work. But if you try to do that to Jason Correa, oh, no, you can't do that. He's innocent until proven guilty. Okay? They did it to, what's his name, the Supreme Court Justice?
Oh, Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh. They tried to convict him before he had any due process. So again, it's different rules for different people. It all depends on where in the scale you appear, on what rules apply.
And you're right, and it shouldn't, CJ.
No,
it shouldn't. It should not. And as you said, but the thing is that, Cusick may be convicted. Probably will be. They got him on tape. So, but I mean, probably will be convicted. But the fact is that the department unilaterally, terminated him. I mean, if he got a good lawyer, he might, he might get some of that money back that he was before he's actually convicted, because technically they could have suspended him, they could have done other things, and he might have been entitled to some benefits, and that's why you have an arbitrator. Whether I agree or disagree, I don't disagree with what he did, and if he did it, because it's still alleged.
Right.
But the reality is that he, as everybody else, is entitled to due process. And as you said, you can't fire one guy, then say, yeah, you're right, they should can him. But you can't get, Jazel should serve as mayor. You shouldn't be able to get rid of him. And, that's the problem in this society. Everybody has two rules. Rich people have, well, like not only in politics and in these areas. It's, look at Jesse.
The same way.
Look at Jesse Slomet or whatever,
yeah.
Slomet or whatever.
Right.
You look at him. He, and his lawyer now is demanding an apology from the mayor of Chicago. It's like this guy, said he was the victim of a hate crime, could have caused irreparable damage to, already difficult race relations in Chicago, could have caused riots that caused deaths, and he gets a sweetheart deal. Now they're calling for the DA to get bounced, and but look, it happens all the time. If the glove don't fit, you must quit. So, it doesn't matter. And this is what disturbs me. You can't have two sets of rules. And like I said, let these guys make as much money as they want, but don't take more of my tax dollars after you're a millionaire already.
Well, it's not tax dollars that make the world go round, it seems.
That's right. And that's why I loved feudal Japan, because the lowest order of the feudal Japanese society was businessmen. You know why? The Japan in the feudal era lived on the code of Bushido. They lived with honor, and they felt that businessmen were all dishonorable because they put profit above honor.
Yep.
So, that's why I always liked Japan. Because
and we see it every day in Fall River, don't we?
That's for sure. Well, we'll see you on Hump Day, everybody.
we'll see
and
you
I'll
on
remember
Wednesday.
my shirt.